The neon lights of downtown flickered against the rain-slicked streets as Alex trudged home from yet another dead-end job interview. 3 months unemployed, and the engineering degree hanging on his wall seemed more like decoration than qualification. He kicked an empty soda can, watching it clatter down the alley as the skies opened up. Perfect. Just perfect to be. By the time he reached his apartment building, Alex was soaked to the bone, his shoes squeaking against the linoleum of the lobby. The elevator was out of order, again, so he climbed 5 flights of stairs, his wet clothes chafing with each step. He fumbled with his keys, finally shouldering the door open to his modest 1-bedroom apartment. The place was nothing special, but it was his, even if next month's rent was looking increasingly uncertain. Lights, he called out to the smart home system he'd cobbled together from spare parts. Nothing happened. Seriously? Alex flipped the switch manually, revealing a stranger sitting on his couch. He nearly jumped out of his skin, keys clattering to the floor. The woman, if you could call her that, had iridescent purple skin that seemed to shimmer even in the harsh fluorescent lighting. Her eyes were entirely silver, no whites or pupils, and what looked like delicate gill slits pulsed gently at the sides of her elegant neck. "Greetings, champion," she said, her voice like wind chimes in a summer breeze. "I am Zeltharian, royal emissary of the Galactic Confluence. But you may call me Zel." Alex backed against the door. "How did you get in here? What do you want?" "I don't have anything worth stealing, I swear." Zel tilted her head, the motion oddly bird-like. "Steal? I come bearing gifts, not to take from you." She stood in one fluid motion, her silvery robes cascading around her like liquid metal. "You have been chosen, Alex Jin. Out of 7 billion humans on this planet, you alone have proven worthy." Worthy of what? Alex's mind raced. Was this some elaborate prank? A hallucination from that questionable leftover takeout? Of joining the royal bloodline of the Arcturus system, of course. Zel smiled, revealing teeth that looked like small pearls. "You have won the hand of Princess Lyra in marriage. The competition was most fierce." Alex blinked rapidly. "Competition? What competition? I never entered any marriage thing." "Ah, that's what makes you so special." Zel approached, and Alex noticed she hovered just slightly above the floor. The princess was tired of suitors who only wanted her for political advantage. She devised a test to find someone pure of heart, someone who would act nobly even when they thought no one was watching. A memory flashed in Alex's mind, last Tuesday, when he'd helped an elderly woman carry her groceries up those same broken stairs, turning down her offer of payment. Had that been? "You've been watching me?" he asked, a chill running down his spine despite the absurdity of it all. "The entire confluence has been watching you, champion." Zel gestured, and a holographic display appeared between them, showing Alex from multiple angles as he went about his daily life, holding doors open for strangers, returning a wallet he'd found on the bus, volunteering at the animal shelter despite his own financial struggles. "For 6 Earth months, you've been under observation. Your kindness, your resilience, your integrity, these qualities are rare across the galaxy." Alex slumped against the wall. "This can't be happening." "I understand this is overwhelming," Zel said, her voice softening. "You need not decide immediately. The princess has granted you 7 Earth days to consider her offer." "And if I say no?" Something flickered across Zel's silver eyes. Was that concern? That would be unprecedented. "But your choice will be respected. However, you should know that accepting means more than just marriage. You would receive technological knowledge that could advance humanity by centuries. Your family would want for nothing. And the princess." Zel smiled again, this time almost shyly. "She has grown quite fond of you through her observations." As if on cue, another hologram appeared, a woman with skin the color of twilight, eyes like distant galaxies, and a smile that made Alex's heart skip a beat. "Hello, Alex," the hologram said. "I look forward to meeting you in person, if you'll have me." Before Alex could respond, both holograms vanished, and Zel handed him what looked like a small crystal. "Your communication device. The princess can answer any questions you might have." She moved toward the window, which opened on its own. 7 days, champion. The fate of 2 worlds may rest on your decision. With that, she stepped through the window and vanished in a flash of light, leaving Alex alone in his apartment clutching a glowing alien crystal and wondering if he'd finally cracked under the pressure of unemployment, or if he'd somehow stumbled into the greatest adventure of his life. Outside, the rain had stopped, and for the first time in months, stars were visible over the city lights. One of them, Alex could have sworn, winked at him. Alex barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those silver irises staring back at him, heard that wind chime voice explaining how his life had been a cosmic reality show without his knowledge. He'd spent hours examining the crystal, which pulsed with a gentle light whenever he touched it but otherwise revealed none of its secrets. By morning, Alex had almost convinced himself it had all been an elaborate dream, until he found a single iridescent scale on his couch cushion, shimmering with colors that didn't exist in any earthly spectrum. "This is insane," he muttered, pouring coffee into a chipped mug. "Completely insane." His phone buzzed. Another rejection email from yesterday's interview. The hiring manager appreciated his qualifications but had decided to go in another direction. Alex took a long sip of his coffee, staring at the scale between his fingers. "So I can't get hired at a second-rate tech company, but I'm somehow qualified to marry an alien princess." He laughed, the sound hollow in his empty apartment. The crystal on his coffee table pulsed suddenly, startling him enough that he spilled coffee down his shirt. Before he could react, a holographic display expanded from the crystal's core, and there she was again, the princess, seated on what appeared to be a balcony overlooking a violet ocean beneath twin moons. "Good morning, Alex," Princess Lyra said, her voice carrying the same musical quality as Zelle's but deeper, richer somehow. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." Alex looked down at his coffee-stained t-shirt and sweatpants. "No, not at all. Just having breakfast with the Queen of England. You know, typical Thursday." To his surprise, the princess laughed, a genuine laugh that crinkled the corners of her galaxy eyes. "Your humor is one of the qualities I admire most. It's refreshing after centuries of diplomatic doublespeak." "Centuries?" Alex's brain caught on the word. "How old are you exactly?" "By your Earth standards, approximately 217 years. She tilted her head, studying his reaction. "Does that concern you?" Alex ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "I mean, I've dated older women before, but that's usually a few years, not a few centuries." "Our species ages differently," Lyra explained. "I am considered quite young among my people. Barely past the age of choosing a life mate." Alex sat on the edge of his couch, curiosity momentarily overriding his disbelief. "So why Earth? Why humans? Surely there are more compatible species out there?" The princess's expression grew solemn. "The Arcturus system stands at a crossroads. For millennia, we have practiced genetic isolation, believing our bloodlines superior to all others. It has led to problems." She waved her hand, and the hologram expanded to show images that made Alex's stomach turn. Children with painful physical deformities, adults connected to complex medical equipment. "Genetic drift," Alex whispered, his engineering background connecting the dots. "Yes," Lyra confirmed. "Our scientists determined that human DNA contains certain resilience factors our species lacks. We need your genetic diversity. But more than that." Her voice softened. "We need your perspective, your compassion, your ability to adapt and overcome without technological advantage." Alex frowned. "So this is just a breeding program? You could have taken DNA samples without the whole marriage setup." Lyra's eyes flashed, literally, sparks of light dancing in their depths. "This is not merely about genetics, Alex Chin. It is about cultural exchange, about learning from each other. The marriage tradition allows for the deepest form of diplomatic connection." "And you picked me because I helped an old lady with her groceries?" Alex still couldn't wrap his head around being chosen out of billions. "We monitored 10,000 humans initially," Lyra explained. "The selection pool was narrowed each month based on specific criteria: empathy, intelligence, adaptability, genetic compatibility. In the final phase, we observed only 20 candidates. Her expression softened. You were not the wealthiest, nor the most physically impressive. But you showed grace under pressure and kindness without expectation of reward. When you lost your job, you continued volunteering at the animal shelter despite your financial struggles. You checked on your elderly neighbor even when you were exhausted. Alex's throat tightened. Those small acts of decency had felt so insignificant at the time. I'm nobody special, he insisted. I'm just trying not to be a jerk. And that, Lyra said with conviction, is precisely what makes you special. The universe has no shortage of conquerors and tyrants, Alex. What it lacks are those who choose kindness when cruelty would be easier. Before Alex could respond, alarms began blaring on Lyra's end of the transmission. Her expression shifted from warm to worried in an instant. I must go, she said, already rising. Security Protocol Delta. Remember, you have only 7 days, Alex Chen. I hope. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Alex staring at the now-dormant crystal. Outside his window, a black sedan with tinted windows pulled up to the curb. 2 men in suits stepped out, scanning the building with expressions that screamed, government. Alex's heart pounded. Had someone seen Zell enter his apartment? Was he about to disappear into some top-secret facility, poked and prodded by scientists eager to learn about his alien encounter? The crystal in his hands suddenly felt very heavy, and for the first time since this madness began, Alex considered that his answer might affect more than just his own future. Alex grabbed the crystal and bolted for his bedroom, heart hammering against his ribs. Through a gap in the blinds, he watched the suited men approach his building's entrance. One spoke into his wrist while the other scanned the windows, his gaze passing over Alex's apartment without pause. The buzzer rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Alex held his breath. His neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez answered, her voice carrying faintly through the thin walls. The men asked questions Alex couldn't make out, but their tone was official, authoritative. After a few minutes, the conversation ended. Alex watched them return to their sedan, but instead of driving away, they simply waited. His phone buzzed with a text from his best friend, Tom. Dude, why are guys in suits asking about you at the coffee shop? What did you do? This was bad. Really bad. Alex paced his small apartment, the crystal clutched in his sweaty palm. He needed to think, but his mind kept circling back to Lyra's abruptly ended transmission and those alarming words, Security Protocol Delta. The crystal suddenly warmed in his hand, pulsing with an urgent rhythm. Without warning, it projected not Lyra's image, but Zell's. Her usual composure was gone, replaced with unmistakable tension. Champion, you are in danger, she said without preamble. Your government detected our communication signals. They have been monitoring all extraterrestrial frequencies since the Roswell incident. You must leave immediately. Go where? Alex's voice cracked. There are men outside my building. Pack essentials only. You have 10 Earth minutes before a retrieval team arrives. They will extract you to a safe location. Zell's image flickered. The princess sends her regrets. This situation was unforeseen. The transmission ended before Alex could respond. He stood frozen for 5 precious seconds before his survival instinct kicked in. Moving on autopilot, he grabbed his backpack, stuffing it with clothes, his laptop, phone charger, and the photo of his parents from his nightstand. He hesitated at his medicine cabinet, then grabbed his prescription inhaler. Space probably had different allergens, right? The absurdity of the situation hit him as he was shoving his toothbrush into a side pocket. He was packing for what? An alien abduction? A cosmic elopement? How had his life spiraled so completely out of control in less than 24 hours? A soft humming sound from the living room interrupted his thoughts. Alex peered around the corner to see a section of his wall beginning to shimmer like the surface of water. His watch showed 8 minutes had passed since Zell's warning. Before he could approach the distortion, his phone rang, his sister Kelly's ringtone. Alex answered reflexively. "Elle, what's going on?" Kelly's voice was tense. "2 government types just came to my apartment asking when I last heard from you. They said it was a matter of national security." Alex's throat tightened. Kelly, I can't explain right now, but I'm okay. I promise. You don't sound okay. His sister's worry sharpened to fear. Are you in trouble? Do you need money again? Whatever it is, we can fix it together. The shimmering wall began to bulge outward. Alex's time was up. I have to go, he said, emotion threatening to choke him. Listen, if you don't hear from me for a while, don't worry. I'm not in danger. A humorless laugh escaped him. Well, not the kind you're thinking anyway. Alex, you're scaring me. I love you, Kel. T more than he ever had. Take care of Mom and Dad. Tell them I'm following a job opportunity. The wall distortions stretched further into the room, taking on a tunnel-like appearance. A silhouette appeared within it, humanoid but clearly not human. Who's there with you? Kelly demanded. Alex, what's happening? I have to go, he repeated. I'll contact you if I can. I promise. He ended the call as three figures emerged from the portal, tall, armored beings with the same iridescent skin as Zell, but muscular and equipped with what could only be weapons. The leader approached Alex and spoke, their voice translated through a device on their collar. Alex Chin, by order of the Royal House of Arcturus, we are here to escort you to safety. Please come with us immediately. Alex glanced at his phone as texts from Kelly flooded in. Outside, car doors slammed. Heavy footsteps pounded up the stairs. The men in suits, no doubt, alerted by something. They're coming, Alex warned, shoving his phone into his pocket and slinging his backpack over his shoulder. The alien security team moved with practiced efficiency. One took position at the door while another began waving a device around the apartment, causing electronic items to spark and go dead, erasing evidence, Alex realized. The leader extended a four-fingered hand toward Alex. We must leave now. The portal can only remain stable for 30 more seconds. A fist pounded on his door. Federal agents. Open up. Alex took one last look around his small apartment, at the engineering degree on the wall, the worn couch where he'd spent countless nights watching sci-fi movies, the kitchen where he'd learned to cook his mother's recipes through video calls. All the ordinary pieces of an ordinary life. The door frame splintered as something heavy slammed against it. Your choice, champion, the alien leader said quietly. But choose quickly. For a split second, Alex thought of all he was leaving behind. His family, his friends, his world. Then he remembered Lyra's eyes, the genetic crisis facing her people, and the strange twist of fate that had somehow decided he, Alex Chin, unremarkable engineering graduate and recently unemployed tech worker, was worthy of changing the destiny of two species. The door burst open just as Alex stepped toward the portal. He caught a glimpse of men in tactical gear, weapons raised, expressions of shock giving way to determination. One shouted something about national security and stand down, but his words were drowned by the humming of the portal. The lead alien pressed something into Alex's hand, another crystal, smaller than the first. If you wish to return, this will guide you home. The word echoed in Alex's mind as he took his final step forward, the portal's energy tingling across his skin. Behind him, Earth and everything he'd ever known. Ahead, an alien world, a princess with galaxy eyes, and a future he couldn't begin to imagine. One of the agents fired his weapon. The alien security leader pushed Alex through the portal just as the bullet whizzed past, grazing the alien's shoulder. Purple blood splattered across the threshold between worlds. The last thing Alex saw before the portal collapsed was his apartment. His ordinary, human apartment, filled with extraordinary tension and chaos of his making. Then everything twisted, stretched, and dissolved into a tunnel of light and sensation that stole his breath and scrambled his senses. That he was falling through stars, his body simultaneously freezing and burning, his mind unable to process the impossible physics of traveling between worlds. Through it all, one thought remained crystal clear in Alex's mind. There was no going back now. The journey through the portal felt endless, a lifetime compressed into seconds. When Alex finally materialized, his legs buckled beneath him and he collapsed onto a smooth, metallic floor. Every cell in his body screamed in protest. His vision swam, shapes and colors blurring together like watercolors in the rain. "Breathe deeply," a familiar voice instructed. Zell knelt beside him, placing a device against his neck that hissed softly. Instantly, the worst of the nausea subsided. First portal travel is always difficult for non-spacefaring species. Alex managed to sit up, taking in his surroundings. He wasn't on an alien planet as he'd expected, but in what appeared to be a spacecraft, sleek, curved walls with pulsing light patterns, viewport windows showing the blackness of space dotted with unfamiliar stars. "Where are we?" he croaked, his throat painfully dry. "Currently in orbit around your moon," Zell replied, helping him to his feet. "We must reach the jump point before your planet's defense systems target us." Defense systems? Earth doesn't have space weapons. Even as he said it, Alex realized how naive he sounded. Of course Earth would have secret space defenses. Zell's expression was unreadable. "Your military capabilities are more advanced than your civilian population realizes." The ship lurched suddenly, throwing them both against the wall. Alarms wailed, and the lighting shifted to a deep crimson. Zell's composure cracked as she barked orders in her native language to the crew rushing past. "What's happening?" Alex demanded, clutching his backpack to his chest like a shield. Before Zell could answer, the ship's captain approached, a tall, scarred warrior with ceremonial markings etched into his purple skin. "The humans have launched interceptors," he reported grimly. "And a transmission from the Dracorian fleet indicates they've breached the royal palace on Arcturus Prime." Zell's silver eyes widened in shock. "The princess?" "Her status is unknown," the captain said. "The last communication indicated the royal family was being evacuated to the sacred chambers." Alex's head spun with questions. "Dracorian? Who are they? What's happening?" Zell turned to him, hesitating before speaking. "There is something you were not told, Alex Chen. The competition for the princess's hand was not merely a cultural tradition. It was strategic." A cold feeling settled in Alex's stomach. "Strategic how?" "The Arcturus system has been in a cold war with the Dracorian Empire for 3 centuries, she explained. "A marriage alliance with Earth would have brought your planet under our protection, forcing the Dracorians to stand down or risk war on 2 fronts. The realization hit Alex like a physical blow. "You were using me, using Earth, as a buffer in your alien war?" "Not using," Zell insisted. "Allying. The genetic compatibility was truth. The princess's interest was genuine. But yes, there were political motivations beyond what I revealed." Another blast rocked the ship. The captain shouted something about shield integrity failing. "We need to jump now," he ordered. "Set coordinates for the Beta refuge." "We cannot," Zell countered. "The human is not prepared for deep space travel. His body would not survive without proper adaptation." The captain's face hardened. "Then we leave him. The princess's safety is our priority." "No," Zell positioned herself between Alex and the captain. "He is the chosen champion. Why requires his presence for ratification? Without him, there is no alliance." Alex felt like a chess piece being moved around a board he couldn't even see. "Don't I get a say in this?" The ship shuddered violently. Through the viewport, Alex spotted something that made his blood run cold: sleek black vessels approaching, their design utterly unlike the elegant curves of the Arcturian ship. They moved with predatory purpose, weapons ports glowing ominously. "Dracorian scouts," the captain hissed. "They must have followed our portal signature." "Impossible," Zell whispered. "Unless—" A new alarm blared, and the ship's communication system activated automatically. A holographic figure appeared in the center of the chamber, humanoid but reptilian, with scaled skin and vertical slit pupils in yellow eyes. When it spoke, its voice was like gravel being crushed. "Arcturian vessel, this is Commander Vexstar of the Dracorian Vanguard. We know you carry the human champion. Surrender him immediately, or we will destroy your ship and everyone aboard." The captain cut the transmission with a gesture. "Battle stations. Prepare for emergency jump." "Wait," Alex said, stepping forward despite his fear. "What do they want with me?" Zell's expression was grave. The Dracorians have their own plans for Earth. If they cannot prevent our alliance, they will forge their own, by force if necessary. Another blast hit the ship, stronger than before. Sparks showered from overhead panels. A crew member was thrown across the chamber, leaving a smear of purple blood on the wall where they hit. The captain made a decision. We jump in 30 seconds. The human comes with us. Prepare him. Before Alex could protest, 2 crew members seized him, strapping him into a reclined seat that immediately formed around his body like liquid metal. Zell approached with an injector filled with iridescent fluid. This will help your body withstand the jump, she explained, her voice gentler than before. It will hurt, but it's necessary for survival. Wait. Alex struggled against the restraints. What about Earth? If these Dracorians want to force an alliance, my planet is in danger. We can't just leave. Zell paused, the injector hovering over his arm. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Our mission is to protect you and secure our alliance. An alliance I never agreed to. Alex shouted. You lied to me, manipulated me, and now my entire planet could be at risk because of your war. The ship rocked again. Emergency force fields activated over breached sections of the hull. The captain shouted that jump was imminent. We have no choice, Zell said, moving to inject him. Alex locked eyes with her. There's always a choice. If Princess Lyra truly chose me for my compassion, then prove you understand what that means. I can't abandon billions of people to save myself. Something shifted in Zell's expression. She lowered the injector and turned to the captain, speaking rapidly in their language. An argument erupted, growing more heated by the second as the Dracorian ships closed in. Through the chaos, Alex noticed something odd. The small crystal the security leader had pressed into his hand before they entered the portal was glowing, pulsating with increasing intensity. He managed to free one arm enough to reach into his pocket and grasp it. The moment his fingers closed around the crystal, it burned white-hot. A voice filled his mind, Lyra's voice, but strained, frightened. Alex, she said, the mental connection wavering. If you can hear me, trap, betrayal within a royal court. The competition was Dracorians planted, my father's advisor, don't trust. The message fragmented, but its meaning was clear enough. The situation was far more complex than a simple Cold War between species. There was betrayal, conspiracy, and somehow, Alex had become the linchpin in a conflict that spanned galaxies. The crystal in his hands suddenly shattered, the pieces dissolving into his skin like quicksilver. Power unlike anything he'd ever felt surged through his veins. His vision shifted, revealing energy patterns through the ship's hull, the approaching Dracorian vessels, and, most surprisingly, the web of deception surrounding him. One of the crew members restraining him wasn't Arcturian at all. Beneath the purple skin disguise lurked something else, something with the same energy signature as the attacking ships. As the ship's engines reached jump capacity and the stars outside began to distort, Alex made a decision that would change the course of 3 civilizations. The power flowing through him responded to his will, and for a brief, terrible moment, he understood exactly what it meant to be the chosen champion, and why the princess had truly selected him. Stop the jump, he commanded, his voice resonating with newfound authority. We've been infiltrated. All eyes turned to him in shock as he broke free of his restraints, the metal melting away from his glowing hands. He pointed at the disguised crew member. That's not one of yours. The accused crew member's expression contorted with rage. Their hand moved to a concealed weapon, but Alex was faster. Somehow, he knew exactly what to do with the alien power coursing through him. The jump sequence halted. The Dracorian ships closed in. And in that moment of crisis, with Earth, Arcturus, and his own fate hanging in the balance, Alex Chin, ordinary human turned cosmic champion, understood that the real competition was only just beginning. The disguised Dracorian snarled, scales rippling beneath the holographic skin as it lunged toward the ship's control console. Alex moved without thinking, his body carried by instincts that weren't entirely his own. The newfound power surged through him like electricity, focusing into a pulse that knocked the infiltrator backward. Secure him. the captain ordered, and 3 Arcturian guards pounced on the spy, restraining him with energy cuffs. Zell stared at Alex in disbelief. How did you... The crystal, Alex explained, examining his hands as the glow faded. Lyra sent me a message. There's a traitor in the royal court. This whole thing was a setup. The ship rocked violently as another blast from the Dracorian vessels hit their shields. Warning lights flashed everywhere, and a computerized voice announced shield failure in 2 minutes. We're trapped, the captain growled. Jump drive damaged, weapons offline. They'll board us soon. Alex's mind raced. If the Dracorians captured him, they'd use him as leverage against both Earth and Arcturus. If the ship attempted an emergency jump, he might die in transit. Neither option was acceptable. There's a third choice, he said suddenly. Let me speak to them. Zell looked horrified. Impossible. The Dracorians don't negotiate. They want me alive, or they would have destroyed this ship already, Alex countered. Open a channel. The captain hesitated, then nodded. The holographic communication system flickered to life, and Commander Vexdar's reptilian face appeared again, yellow eyes narrowing with interest. The human speaks, he hissed. How unexpected. Alex stepped forward. I understand. You want me for your own alliance. But there's something you should know. The Arcturian court has been compromised. Your spies have already infiltrated their highest levels. Vexdar's expression didn't change, but his tail twitched, a tell that Alex somehow recognized. Interesting theory. Not a theory, Alex pressed. Your agent on this ship was going to sabotage the jump, killing everyone including me. That doesn't align with your goals of capturing me alive. Someone's playing both sides. A tense silence followed. Vexdar's vertical pupils contracted to thin slits. Who is this betrayer you speak of? The commander finally asked. Alex closed his eyes, focusing on the lingering power from the crystal, trying to reconstruct Lyra's fragmented message. A name formed in his mind. High Chancellor Mev Rin. The royal advisor. The reaction was immediate. Vexdar barked orders to someone off-screen, and the Dracorian ship's weapons powered down. Perhaps we have common interests after all, human, Vexdar said, his voice contemplative. High Chancellor Emverin has been feeding us intelligence for years, but recently his information has become suspiciously valuable. The captain stepped forward. Mev Rin has been orchestrating peace talks between our peoples for decades. Why would he betray both sides? Because he serves neither, Alex realized aloud. The crystal, when it merged with me, I saw patterns, connections. There's a third faction at work. He turned to Zell. The genetic crisis affecting your people, it's not natural, is it? Zell's silver eyes widened. How could you know that? The princess's DNA is different from yours, Alex said, the knowledge appearing in his mind like memories he'd forgotten he had. Her family line was targeted specifically, weakened deliberately over generations. Vexdar's hiss cut through the stunned silence. This aligns with our intelligence. Mev Rin has been pressuring our council to attack Arcturus for years, claiming their biological weapons research threatened our species. He wanted war between you, Alex concluded, while a third party waited to collect the pieces. The ship's alarms suddenly fell silent. On the view screen, Earth grew smaller as they drifted farther into space. Our engines are back online, the captain reported, confusion evident in his voice. But I did, came a new voice from the ship's communication system. The hologram shifted to show a face Alex recognized immediately, Princess Lyra, though not as he'd seen her before. Her skin was paler, almost translucent, and her galaxy eyes dimmed with exhaustion. Princess. Zell dropped to one knee. You're alive. Barely, Lyra confirmed. I've escaped the palace with a small contingent of loyal guards. Mev Rin tried to assassinate my father. The king is wounded but stable. She turned her attention to Alex, her expression softening. I see the catalyst crystal found its match. I knew you were the one, Alex Chin. What is happening to me? Alex asked, holding up his still tingling hands. The catalyst is an ancient artifact, passed through my family line for millennia, Lyra explained. It seeks a compatible mind, one with the specific genetic and neurological patterns needed to unlock its power. It's been waiting for someone like you for generations. Vexstar interrupted, his patience visibly thinning. As fascinating as your family heirlooms are, Princess, we have more pressing concerns. If MEV Rin is working for this third faction, the Harbingers, Lyra supplied. A shadow organization that believes controlled conflict between our civilizations will prepare us for some greater threat. They've been manipulating both our peoples for centuries. And Earth? Alex asked. Where do we fit in? Human DNA contains something unique, Lyra said. A specific genetic sequence the Harbingers fear. It can counter the bioweapon they've been using to weaken royal bloodlines across the galaxy. Your presence in our gene pool would eventually make us immune to their methods of control. The pieces clicked together in Alex's mind. That's why they needed to stop this marriage alliance at any cost. Not to prevent peace between Arcturus and Draker, but to keep Earth isolated. Commander Vexstar's scaled face contorted with rage. We've been puppets in their game. No longer, the Arcturian captain declared. Princess, what are your orders? Lyra straightened, royal authority evident despite her weakened state. Commander Vexstar, I propose an immediate truce between our peoples and a joint operation to expose MEV Rin and his Harbinger allies. To Alex's surprise, the Dracorian commander inclined his head in agreement. For this purpose, we stand with Arcturus. And Earth. Alex interjected. The Harbingers will target my planet next if they haven't already. Lyra's gaze met his, filled with determination and something else, something personal. That's why we need you, Alex. The catalyst power flowing through you can identify Harbinger agents and counteract their bioweapons. With your help, we can protect all three worlds. Alex looked from Lyra to Zell to Commander Vexstar. 3 days ago, his biggest concern had been making rent. Now he stood at the center of an interstellar conflict with the power to tip the balance. If I help you, he said carefully, I need guarantees. Earth remains sovereign. No forced alliances, no manipulation. And I want to contact my family, let them know I'm okay. And the marriage? Lyra asked softly, vulnerability showing through her royal exterior. Alex's heart pounded. Despite everything, the lies, the manipulation, the danger, he couldn't deny the connection he felt to Lyra. Was it the crystal's influence or something more human? That should be our choice, he answered. Not a political necessity. Not a genetic strategy. Just us deciding what we want. A smile bloomed across Lyra's face, brightening her exhausted features. I would have it no other way. The moment was interrupted by urgent beeping from the ship's sensors. Multiple vessels were approaching, not Dracorian or Arcturian, but Earth vessels, primitive by comparison but armed and determined. Your military is persistent, Vexstar observed dryly. The captain turned to Alex. They're hailing us. Will you speak to them? Alex nodded, suddenly realizing the impossible position he was in. How could he explain any of this to Earth authorities? Would they even believe him, or would they see him as a traitor collaborating with aliens? As he prepared to address his own species as an ambassador from the stars, the ship's sensors detected something else, a massive energy signature unlike anything in Arcturian or Dracorian records, materializing near Earth's moon. Harbinger vessel, Lyra whispered, horror in her voice. They're here. Before anyone could react, every screen and hologram on the ship flickered and changed. A figure appeared, humanoid but wrong somehow, with proportions that strained the eye and skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Greetings, Convergence Point, the figure said, its voice resonating at a frequency that made Alex's teeth ache. We've been waiting for this moment for 50,000 of your Earth years. The being's eyes, if they could be called eyes, fixed directly on Alex. You believe you've discovered our plot, champion of Earth. How charmingly incomplete your understanding is. Alex felt the crystal's power surge defensively inside him. Who are you? The being's face split into what might have been a smile. We are the architects of your ascension. The competition was real, but its purpose was not alliance or breeding or war. It was a test, Lyra realized aloud, her voice faint. Indeed, daughter of stars, the Harbinger confirmed. A test to find the one being in 3 civilizations with the capacity to merge with the catalyst. The one who could become the bridge. Bridge to what? Alex demanded. The view screen shifted, showing not stars or planets, but something else entirely, a vast lattice of energy spanning what appeared to be multiple dimensions, with dark patches spreading through it like infection. Reality is failing, champion, the Harbinger said simply. The cosmic barriers between dimensions grow thin. What your limited sciences would call entropy has accelerated beyond control. The being's gaze intensified. We did not create the crisis to manipulate your peoples. We manipulated your peoples to create a solution to the crisis. Alex felt the weight of uncountable lives settling on his shoulders as he realized the truth. He hadn't won an alien bride. He'd been selected for something far greater and more terrible. The final test had just begun. Silence gripped the ship as the implications of the Harbinger's words sank in. Alex stared at the lattice of reality displayed on the view screen, the dark patches spreading like cancer through the cosmic framework. You're saying the universe is dying, he finally said, and somehow I'm supposed to fix it? Not you alone, the Harbinger clarified. The bridge requires 3 points of connection, one from each civilization affected by the dimensional tear. The genetic compatibility between your species was no accident. It was designed, cultivated over millennia. Lyra stepped forward in her hologram. That's why my family's bloodline was specifically targeted. You were guiding our evolution. As we guided the Dracorians and humans, the being confirmed. The competition was merely the final selection process. Commander Vexstar's reptilian features contorted with suspicion. If saving reality was your goal, why the deception? Why pit our peoples against each other? The Harbinger's expression remained unnervingly calm. Pressure creates diamonds, conflict breeds strength. We needed beings who could survive crisis, adapt to impossible circumstances. Peace breeds complacency. That's convenient, Alex said, anger rising in him. Manipulating billions of lives, causing suffering and war, all justified by some greater good? Your perspective is limited by your lifespan, the Harbinger replied without emotion. We have watched galaxies die, champion. We have witnessed entire dimensions collapse. The cost of inaction is infinite. Alex felt the catalyst's power flowing beneath his skin, responding to his emotions. And what exactly is this bridge supposed to do? It will stabilize the weakening dimensional boundaries, the being explained. But it requires sacrifice. The 3 chosen ones must surrender their individual existences to become something new, something beyond. The implications hit Alex like a physical blow. This wasn't just about saving the universe, it was about giving up his humanity, his identity, everything he was. No, he said firmly. There has to be another way. The Harbinger's face remained impassive. There is not. He's right, Zell interjected unexpectedly. There must be alternatives. Our scientists have been studying dimensional physics for centuries. As have ours, Vexstar added, scaled ridges rising along his neck in agitation. The Dracorian Collective has developed prototype reality anchors that could, insufficient, the Harbinger cut in. Your technologies are primitive approximations of forces you barely comprehend. But Alex was no longer listening to the alien. Instead, he focused inward, exploring the catalyst's power that had merged with his consciousness. Within it, he sensed not just energy but information, vast libraries of knowledge accumulated over eons. You're lying, he said suddenly, eyes snapping open to fix on the Harbinger. The bridge isn't the only solution. It's just the easiest one for you to control. The being's form flickered slightly, a tell of surprise or concern. You cannot possibly understand, but I do, Alex interrupted, newfound confidence in his voice. The catalyst is showing me. There's a network of naturally occurring dimensional anchors throughout the universe, places where reality is naturally stronger. If we establish connections between them, we can create a supporting framework without sacrificing anyone. Lyra's hologram approached him, her galaxy eyes wide with realization. The ancient temples on Arcturus Prime. They were built on nexus points where dimensional energies converge. The deep caverns on Draker serve the same purpose. Vexstar added, comprehension dawning. Our ancestors built shrines there, claiming they could speak to other worlds. And on Earth, Alex continued, pieces falling into place, structures like Stonehenge, the pyramids, Nazca lines, they're all positioned on these anchor points. Humans have been instinctively marking them for thousands of years. The Harbinger's form began to destabilize, edges blurring as if struggling to maintain cohesion. The bridge is the only guaranteed solution. These alternatives risk catastrophic failure. No, Alex corrected, the catalyst's knowledge flowing through him. They risk your obsolescence. A network of natural anchors would be self-sustaining, beyond any single entity's control, including yours. The being's face contorted with the first real emotion it had shown, fear. You do not comprehend the consequences. I think we do, Lyra interrupted, her royal authority evident even through holographic projection. You've manipulated our civilizations not to save reality, but to maintain your influence over it. Understanding rippled through the ship. The Harbingers weren't saviors. They were cosmic manipulators who had engineered conflicts between species to maintain their position as self-appointed guardians of reality. The massive Harbinger vessel began charging weapons, energy building around its impossible hull. Then you leave us no choice. If you will not become the bridge willingly, we will extract what we need from your remains. Alex felt strangely calm as he faced what should have been terrifying. The crystal's power had become part of him now, not a foreign energy but an extension of his will. He reached out, connecting with Lyra across the vast distance between them, feeling her consciousness mesh with his. To his surprise, he felt Vexstar join them as well, the Dracorian commander's reptilian mind unique but compatible. What we need, Alex said quietly, isn't a bridge controlled by you. It's an alliance of our own making. The three of them, human, Arcturian, and Dracorian, focused their combined will through the catalyst. Energy surged outward, not destroying but connecting, finding the natural anchor points across three worlds and strengthening them, creating a stable network independent of Harbinger control. The enemy vessel fired, its beam of concentrated dimensional energy lancing toward their ship. But the attack dissipated harmlessly against a shield that hadn't existed moments before, the newly established network of reality anchors creating a protective boundary around their vessel. Impossible, the Harbinger whispered, its form deteriorating further. No, Alex corrected. Inevitable. You forgot what you claimed to have cultivated in us: adaptation, cooperation, the ability to find a third option when presented with an impossible choice. As the Harbinger vessel retreated, dissolving into quantum uncertainty, Alex felt the connection with Lyra lingering, deeper now than before. Their minds touched across the stars, no longer pushed together by external forces but drawn by genuine connection points. 6 months later, Alex stood on a balcony overlooking the violet oceans of Arcturus Prime. Earth was visible as a tiny blue dot in the night sky, alongside the red glint of Draker. The first official embassy from humanity had arrived the previous week, his sister Kelly among the delegates, her face memorable when she'd seen her ordinary brother standing beside an alien princess. Thinking about home? Lyra asked, joining him at the railing. She wore simple attire today, her royal regalia set aside for private moments. Thinking about everything, Alex admitted. The dimensional network is stable, 3 civilizations are actually talking to each other instead of preparing for war, and somehow I went from unemployed engineer to interspecies diplomat. Lyra's laugh was still his favorite sound in any galaxy. And you still haven't given me an answer about the wedding. Alex turned to her, taking her iridescent hands in his. I wanted to be sure it was real, not just political necessity or cosmic destiny. And now, she asked, those galaxy eyes searching his. Now I know. He smiled. I never entered a competition to win an alien bride. But I found something better, A partner who sees the universe the same way I do. Above them, the stars shimmered as reality strengthened, the natural anchors humming with energy across 3 worlds. Not a bridge controlled by manipulative beings, but a network built on connection, cooperation, and choice. Alex had never intended to become a champion for humanity or a cosmic defender. He'd just been a guy who helped an old lady with her groceries, who returned a lost wallet, who treated others with kindness even when life was hard. In the end, those small human choices had made all the difference, not just for him, but for the entire universe. Some competitions are won simply by being yourself. Even when you have no idea you're competing at all.